What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you through the last of the positional reviews. It's going to be all about the forwards. So once again, if you guys haven't watched the midfielders, the defenders, and the goalkeepers, I would suggest going and looking at those, as after this, we're on our own to make the best draft as possible. So if you guys are new to the channel or new to the series as a whole, haven't watched the previous videos, in these I'm going to be going over the best players for that respective position at the various price points. How I do that is I go over various stats detailing which players exceed their price points or are outliers, and then by the end of it we should have a good kind of scope of budget, mid-range, and premium. So the forwards this season might not look like they're that kind of enticing. I think besides Haaland and Isaac, haven't seen too many variations. The rest of the forwards don't really kind of live up to those expectations, but maybe in this video we'll uncover some hidden gems. So if that's something you guys are interested in, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So the first graph for these outfield players is going to be the mins per games played. Now I just want to clarify that the games played could also be kind of substitute appearances. Just keep that in mind when you guys do look at the mins per game, but let's head straight into it. So once again, on the top right hand side, that's where you guys want to target. Those are players that played the majority of minutes last season, as well as the majority of games, and that's going to be Dom Solanke as well as Ollie Watkins. Now big news about Dom Solanke. Will he sign for Spurs before game week 1? It looks like that deal is progressing quite quickly and that could happen, but as far as I know, he's currently carrying a knock. Then with Ollie Watkins, everyone knows that he is nailed. Just depends if he's worth that 9.0 price tag. Now the one player that I'm actually looking at is going to be Kai Havertz. I included him on a previous draft, I think my second or third update. And this just shows you he is quite nailed in that Arteta lineup. He just doesn't give the maximum amount of minutes every game. What might have actually happened here is he could have played or started the majority of games, then had 1 or 2 sub appearances that brought his average down. So just keep that in mind or have that context. Julian Alvarez, we spoke about him in the best draft inverted commas. He's left Atletico Madrid now. So could his minutes be filled by someone like an Oscar Bob or a cheaper option? All eyes on that situation. Now you do have some players that actually did have pretty respectable minutes per starts. For example, Erling Haaland, you guys know he was injured for a couple of games. Ivan Toney, didn't have to go into what happened with him. But once these players did come back from their injury or their bans, they played the majority of minutes. Same could be said for someone like an Isaac. I'm happy to see that he gets above kind of 75 minutes when he does play. Versus someone like a Callum Wilson who had more sub appearances. Now the one that you guys might be targeting is going to be someone like a Chris Wood. The context is yet again important here. This is just the fact that when he doesn't start, he comes off the bench, and that brings those averages right down. I still will probably say though that I do believe there's a few nailed kind of strikers. You probably can count them on your hand. It's a Dom Solanke, Ollie Watkins, Haaland, Toney, Isaac when Wilson is out injured. All the others do carry their kind of risks, whether that be kind of a positional switch or a sub appearance, and that's why the forward options this season aren't that high. What you guys can do, as always, is pause the screen right now. I'm going to move on to the next stats, as those are a little bit more important. So the first stat I'm going to be going over is a completely new one, and it's based on the forwards, and that's going to be big chances per 90 minutes. Now if you guys don't know what a big chance is, it's basically a shot that a player should have scored, and that's what classifies a big chance. So the reason that you guys want to target kind of a player with a high percentage of big chances is they're more likely to score these opportunities. What I then have done is equated this per 90 minutes to just make it fair. Now please do go for players that are guaranteed to get more minutes. The per 90 minutes just makes it easier to compare. So your eyes are probably on the right hand side. Yes, Erling Haaland at 15 million is super expensive, but he backs it up with those big chances per 90 minutes at about 2 per game. Now I think everyone kind of knows this about Erling Haaland. Is it worth actually going from? I do believe so, but some people are saying that he might not be worth the value. And I would agree if you're not looking to captain him. But if you are, I mean, you want your captain to have about 2 big chances per game, as that just equals more opportunities for FPL points. But now let's head on to that left clump of players, and now you guys can understand why I've been preaching about Isaac being almost essential. For his price tag, to get about 1.6 big chances per game is simply outstanding. Now you guys also find Callum Wilson, so whoever kind of starts for Newcastle is worth the value. I just hope it's Isaac for the majority of the games. Now an FPL favorite for the right or the wrong reasons, Darwin Núñez. You guys know that he gets a ton of chances every game. Unfortunately, he struggles to convert them. Now he has returned to training with Liverpool. Could he be an option at that centre forward position? It's a wait and see for me under slot. Now there are a few other options here. I think a Chris Wood, his stats look really strong when he does feature. Therefore, if you guys can guaranteed kind of minutes and starts, I think he's worth the investment. And want to watch as a Nicholas Jackson under the new manager as he ended the season really hot. I've said this with Richarlison that if he does still kind of feature for them at a centre forward position, I really like him, but now with Dom Solanke coming into the squad potentially, his minutes might be less. So I'll be keeping my eyes on Solanke, but probably won't go for him for game week 1. Now Ollie Watkins, another player that kind of has less than one big chance per game, which you probably won't want to see with his price tag, but he does play basically every minute, so his stats probably average a little bit downwards. Just kind of speaking about that, if a player plays more minutes, they usually have lower averages, versus a player that gets subbed on for the last 10 minutes when the team is pushing for a goal. Now your other options kind of feature here and there. The big debate between Muniz and Wood. Wood outshines him quite a lot in terms of big chances, so I guess it comes down to who's more nailed. So the big chance stat is important, but the next stat I'm going to go over is actually shots on target per 90 minutes. And the reason I'm going over this is that if you guys have seen the new kind of bonus point changes, attackers get a bonus point or 2 for every shot on target. So if your attacker takes more shots on target, that's going to equal more bonus points, and therefore could push them up the bonus point ladder quite a bit. Now these stats might be quite similar to the previous big chance numbers, but you'll probably find players taking more shots on target than the big chances they get. The thinking behind that is just a player could take a shot outside the box that's on target, that won't quantify as a big chance, but will be added to the stat on screen. So Erling Haaland has over 2 shots on target per game versus about 1.8, 1.9 big chances, versus Darwin Núñez who takes a ton of shots, but his big chances are less. You guys can kind of see who's your more shoot on sight strikers. Callum Wilson's one of them. That's why when he does feature, he's a great FPL asset. And even though Isaac had more big chances, Callum Wilson takes more shots. Then we have our classic debate, Muniz versus Chris Wood. Muniz is taking more shots versus Chris Wood. And Richarlison is going to be up there as an almost differential if he gets minutes. Ollie Watkins also showing some good numbers here, about 1.3 shots per game. Having played every minute, I guess that is okay, but you probably would have liked his stats to be slightly higher. But I've included this as a little bit of an interesting debate with the bonus point changes. Let's see how these players perform with the expected stats. So the first stat is going to be XG involvement, one of my favorites. This does combine XG plus XA, just in case one of these forwards is more of an assister sometimes. You probably would assume though that most of these options are more on the XG side of things, but it's sometimes nice to have a diverse striker. So once again, Darwin Núñez XG involvement is sky high for his price point. I mean, he's almost rivaling Erling Haaland there at about 1.05 compared to 1.2. I just wish that he could convert his chances. Now Isaac and Wilson showing once again whoever starts at striker for Newcastle is essential in my opinion, and Isaac takes the edge in terms of these numbers. Now heading down the list, you can see that Chris Wood, Muniz, that classic debate once again, pretty good, but if João Pedro gets minutes, at 5.5 million he might be the steal of the game. Also nice to see Ollie Watkins here. I think those XA numbers from last year boost him up a little bit, and I'm keeping my eye on someone like a Nicholas Jackson if he gets minutes. The rest of the list are okay. You probably want your striker to have quite a high amount of XG involvement as they are the most focal point of that attack. And that's why, as mentioned, Erling Haaland and whoever starts for Newcastle are the only locked-in strikers at the moment for me. Let's see if things switch up a bit in terms of expected FPL points per 90 minutes. This comes from Fantasy Football Fix. I've used this stat in basically all my kind of positions. It just combines every kind of goal scoring opportunity, assist opportunity, and bonus points in one package. So the definition is basically how many points these strikers should have scored per 90 minutes, and you can see Erling Haaland above 7.5. So between him and Salah, these two options had the highest expected FPL points per 90 minutes, and that's why both of them are the standout Campsy options. Now you might be looking on the left hand side at Beto from Everton. This is just one of those players that comes off late into the fixture when Everton are pressing for a goal and therefore has quite a few opportunities. Isaac once again showing that he might even be a Campsy consideration if you guys do want to go there. I've seen some people look at him for game week 1 against Southampton at home. Darwin, my favorite there, showing that he has the potential or expectation, but the actuals are quite a bit lower than this. Now Chris Wood also showing when he does play he gets you points, and that's all for me in terms of the stats. He's the favored cheap option. The one that I want to talk about is going to be Gabriel Jesus and Havertz, as you guys can see when they do play almost equal expected minutes. But considering that Kai Havertz played so many minutes, these numbers are actually pretty good. I mean, they're better than Ollie Watkins at the moment, but his actuals versus expected, there was a large difference last season. I think he got double-digit assists from about 4 XA. So just consider that, I guess, if you are a stats-based manager or a grass manager, as I'm not saying that Havertz is a better option than Watkins, but the stats might reflect that. Now, Mateta is one of the strikers that I have my eye on, considering the fact that he didn't start the season too well, but he ended it like an absolute machine. If he can replicate that form this season, he's still at his price point. Now, the last graph I want to go over is a combination of XG involvement and expected FPL points, and there should be a kind of positive relationship between these two numbers. The more goals they're involved in, the higher the expected FPL points should be, and that's what you guys can see in this graph. And there might be a difference between a striker that has more of an XG versus XA, as you guys know, more points for a goal versus an assist. So I think this graph kind of summarizes this quite nicely. I've mentioned this throughout the video that Haaland and Isaac for me are the two locked-in strikers, and that third spot is up to interpretation. I won't lie to you, after seeing these kind of stats for Ollie Watkins, I might be going a little bit cold on him, as there might be better value going for a cheaper striker like a Chris Wood. I think João Pedro, if he is fit and looks like he's firing in preseason, the time is running out though, with about a week left till that Game Week 1 deadline, but if he looks like he might be starting for Brighton, I might rather go for him at 5.5 million. I think with Muniz, the fixtures do redeem him slightly. His numbers are a little bit disappointing though, but I guess he is quite cheap, and it all comes down to the expected minutes of Chris Wood versus Muniz. Let's see how the season progresses though. Hopefully this season there's another forward that comes out all guns blazing. Put your prediction who it's going to be down below. This is going to conclude the positional review series. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. I've loved kind of creating these stats, graphs and everything for you guys, even though it took a bit of time. We are on our own now in terms of kind of creating the best draft as possible. Stay tuned tomorrow where I give you guys my updated team. But this is basically going to wrap up the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you have subscribed yet. Tons more content still coming up. Basically a video every day till that Game Week 1 deadline on Friday. But for the time being, I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.